So what has been happening on the Hayseed night? If we're doing it from the beginning, you'll find out very soon.
Can they hear us right now?
Yes, they can hear us now.
Oh, how
okay.
long have they been able to hear us?
About 3 seconds.
Uh-huh.
Sweet, I got
you
front row
baby.
seats.
No, it's other west. Otherest? What?
Maxie, first off, I just want to say congratulations. You've done an amazing amount of work making this thing happen. It's incredible.
Hooray!
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you all so much. I thank you for having me streaming this for so many years now.
How many years has it been?
4.
God.
I mean, technically, it's been like 3 because I released on December 8th, 2020 on Steam.
Make sure that the volume is a decent level. Let's see.
I insist that everything be indecent at all times.
Oh my God,
Don't
we're
worry, I
showing
got you
you.
covered.
Are we laughing at you?
I've never ever written anything horny in my life. I don't know what you're all about.
Nice.
Like,
As we get ready to play the game full of literally horned, horny characters.
Metaphorically, or okay.
Yes. Was that new?
Yes,
Yep.
that was
Yeah, yeah.
That's lovely.
Holy horns! What's with this place? It's ancient. Are you sure we're allowed to be here?
I mean, technically, you're allowed to be anywhere that you don't get caught. Oh my gosh!
Okay,
That's what?
Stop it.
Damn it! Why do I keep doing that?
We're starting strong today.
Sucker, continuing to invoke his superpower.
Okay, so I'm reading the narrator still.
Of course.
You're allowed to be anywhere as long as no one finds you.
I will never put you
Once
out of
again, I
your-
like how West is dressed for the occasion, but could have done it with the deer.
Sneaking through the forgotten cracks in a wall is not as easy as it once was, but I still managed to push my hat and my staff in somehow without wrecking the wall any further. Today's a mess, and the last thing I'd want is a whole city knowing that I'm back on my nonsense, namely, helping fawns trespass into abandoned temples in pursuit of fixing the written lies that pass as history these days. I'm too old for this rubbish. I catch a glimpse of Lynn's expression as I push my scarf over my face again. My newest headache looks entirely unconvinced by my logic. Look, we're already here, and you're going to need all the help you can get, kid. I don't have time to explain every single little thing to you. If said kid still has any qualms left about following me here, she has the rare decency not to voice them. I mean, this whole ordeal is her fault, in a very roundabout sort of way. Still her fault nonetheless. It's anyone's but mine, at least. I didn't come all the way back to the city to do charity for his descendants. I just wanted to find that dumbass's grave and clean up a little or leave some incense or something. Not this. I wasn't looking to hear legends about any so-called knight of the upper field.
I actually have a question. Is Damas like a bad word to say? Because recently I've seen people like avoid it.
Avoid
So I'm
what
kind of
word?
confused.
Which word?
Damas.
Oh, dumbass?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
mildly.
It's a very, very mild.
It's a very mild curse. Yes, like if you said it in a movie, you would immediately get a PG rating for sure.
Yeah.
But
Oh, I see.
I know the books in this library won't say a word about him, but I had to come back to this place anyway. The unlikely possibility of finding a trace of his existence among the broken tablets and burned codices was far too compelling to ignore. Here I
was gonna
am.
be like, I had to come back to this place anyway. I have a book overdue.
Here I am, still following in his footsteps like the few unlucky scripts that time and thieves spared, frozen in their shells as they await the return of someone who will understand them. We have a lot in common, this library and I. The kid's eyes open a fraction wider, and I only managed to narrowly avoid the oncoming onslaught of questions. Here, ink, paper. You can write, right?
Of course! You're talking to the fastest.
Shut it, Ask-a-Daz.
Jeez, you're really adding some flavor to my name, huh? Where did all that salt come from? Or could that be the sweetness of an old flame leaving such a bitter aftertaste?
Ew, no, don't do that. It makes you sound like your mother. I mean, her mother. Or her great-great-great-grandmother? I can't believe this story has derailed this much. How long have I been gone?
I can't even start to guess if you won't tell me how old you are.
I'm entirely too old to care about something as dumb as numbers.
Well, gee, I'm starting to see why you wanted me here. Do you have a name, or are you too cool for letters too?
My name would only doom this project. You will be me, and I will be nothing more than the space between words.
What a droll way to say you want me getting lynched for this.
1 second. Let's see.
Yeah, we can't spoil the game, Maxie.
Music. Miss. Boost.
Yeah, we've got to wait until the big reveal when I find out if which one of my theories is correct.
None. You are all wrong. You've never been right in your life.
It's like some random character.
The presumptuousness you hold to think you may. I have no idea. I don't remember anything.
You could have just stopped. You honestly could have stopped with the presumptuousness you hold to think.
I can still keep the story to myself and tell you to get lost, kid.
But you won't, because after hearing my name, you realize I'm the chosen gazelle that legend of old prophesied would tell the true story of the night, right? I could use a little encouragement here, not gonna lie.
Listen, Lynn. I don't believe in chosen ones, and I certainly don't know what the truth is. I doubt Ader himself ever knew.
Right, Sander.
Yeah. But I am going to tell you the story I know. I'll tell it once.
Mix up. We get the pronunciation of his name right for a while, and then we mix it up again. But in the end, it's all potato patater.
Yes.
Linzuwu face is too powerful.
It's so good. Lynn in general is so good. She might be my favorite character other than all the other characters I really like a lot.
She's a hardcore character. I love her.
You're going to love someone even more, I'm sure.
Oh boy.
I will tell it once, and I'll probably tell it wrong, since I can barely remember it anymore. But even so, anything I say will be 1,000 times more accurate than any of the odes this witless bunch of fopdoodles have been singing through the ages.
That is something I'm going to start calling people.
Do it.
This may be Ader's punishment for lying his way into history, but... hello, Zeronian entity.
Hey, Zeronian.
Hey, Zeronian.
Hello.
This may be Ader's punishment for lying his way into history, but I still can't let the name of a friend be smeared like that. So what I mean to say is that I will skewer you if you interrupt me and make me forget something.
Fair.
She finally shuts up for a moment, though. I know the silence won't last. Right. Good. Guess I should put my own thoughts in order before we begin. His story started back when he left his village to... No, that would be too long. His story starts when he became a knight and... No, that defeats the point. I guess his story starts with me. I could allow myself that much merit, right?
Who are you again?
I'm the one who tells a story. You're right. Okay, alright, here we go. Chapter 1.
And Just Boxer says, that is what you said the first time, Stoker, and I don't believe I've ever heard you call anyone a fopdoodle since that time. Well, fopdoodle dang. Okay.
Geoff says Adder.
Yeah, for some reason.
lad.
And I never quite thought about
Do we
it.
have to go through this every single fuck?
Fun fact. They used
boy.
to swear.
Here we go.
Like my original script had the whole fucking fuck in there.
But then the narrator realized, oh shit, Lynn's a little young. Maybe not.
It's sillier, yeah. Like the voice actors were like, this is too cute to have swears in it. And I was like, well, if you say so.
You know what? That's totally fair.
I removed the big Fs.
I feel like it'd be like a little early to just drop the F-bomb this early. So.
See, I'm a Spanish, so this is very common in my line of work.
I was gonna say that's very Spanish or French.
Just European in general, honestly. Y'all cuss a lot.
I saw a beast! Way to call me an eyesore.
I'm telling you, I saw a beast.
Right. Look, I'm not drunk enough for this, so good.
This ain't no time to sleep. The beast may be gone, but the Macadar is still out there. The forest's out there and it's come to find me.
Can you stop screaming like an idiot and use your brain for a second?
I knew they'd get to the city one day. We gotta tail everyone.
There are no damn trees around, you dimwit!
A long shush followed right after, or that's what we'll go with, since the words their dear neighbors used were too colorful to be reproduced.
Oh, then what did you holler for, Mr. Bard? The sun ain't up yet. If you don't quit your whining, we're gonna get a beating.
Says you, the buck who hath been delighting mine ears with his pitiful wailing all night long.
Say what?
Thought you liked that.
You've been talking in your sleep again.
I know darn well when I'm dreaming, and that wasn't no dream. No, sir. But even if it was, it ain't like I could control my nightmares. When you live with someone, you gotta take the good with the bad, you know?
Then give me a minute to reconsider if taking you in was really such a great idea.
Hey Maxie, I was wondering if you originally wrote the text for the game in Spanish or English.
The very first version I ever wrote, which didn't make it, which was a normal novel, was in Spanish. But then I wanted my friends to be able to play it, so all the visual novel stuff is written in English directly. So I translate to Spanish.
No,
Who carries you home when you empty a barrel and you start to beeline? Me. Who convinces Eligrab to let you out of the dungeon when you mess up and he catches you? It's your friend Shorthorns over here. Because we're friends, right?
My dear bumpkin, emotional blackmail is hardly a fair tactic.
Wait. Fair? Fair. Oh, 3.
Don't.
The fair!
I swear to Bite, kid, if you keep screaming, I'm going to kill you.
Not if they get to me first!
And so Ader's heavy hooves stomped the ground with the force of a stampede as he sprinted away, making Geoff regret every decision that led him suffering this torment.
Glad we sorted that out.
Wide awake now and running as fast as his clumsy hooves would let him, Ader set off to the bazaar. A whole year had come and gone since he first set foot in the streets of Slander District, the most infamous slums of the capital. A place so heinous that walking there alone at night was considered a suicide attempt, a place where you were in your right to keep a house if you could outlast its previous owner. Where he'd once felt like a poor fawn fearing for his life, now he felt like a poor deer fearing for his life. But at least he actually knew his way around after such a long time avoiding brigands. He had no time to spare worrying about trivial matters such as being robbed or stabbed, for he knew fully well that he was to meet his destiny.
The patron's gonna skin me alive!
A destiny which most likely didn't really include being flayed by his dearest employer. Though he can't rule out the possibility of his direct superior whacking him in the head for oversleeping on such an important date.
What if she hates me now? Then the patron won't have no problem kicking me out. He'll kick me out and keep my skin as a payment. Nah, that's dumb. But he'll kill me anyway. Oh, crap.
So immersed was he in these fatalistic thoughts invading his head that his brain, which was by all accounts mostly made up of sawdust, didn't pay any mind to the path his hooves were following. And so, as is to be expected from someone not heeding the wise advice, look where you're going, he soon met the first obstacle on his way to the plaza. A wall.
I'd forgotten how much I had enjoyed the beginning of this game.
Dear.
Oh, mommy.
In any other place.
Who said that?
In any other place, that soft chuckle would have meant that Ader wouldn't have the benefit of living with his failures alone. In the slums, it could mean that he wouldn't have the benefit of living at all.
That was almost impressive. I truly thought that you were going to run straight through that wall for a moment.
The voice got closer by the second, followed by a strangely harmonic tinkling, a melody that danced in his ears and paralyzed his mind, rendering him frozen in the spot as the thought of an incoming murderous lady. Ader shut his one remaining eye and held his breath deeply, knowing that it would be the last. Not dead yet.
One remaining eye, thinking with his one remaining brain cell.
Still not dead. Agami was still alive. That's just rude. Between his blurry sight and the obfuscating darkness, Ader could barely discern the silhouette standing right in front of him. He should have run and screamed and begged for his life, but instead, he hesitated long enough for a few stray sun rays to wander among the rundown houses, finally casting light upon its foe.
Whoa!
For your information, everyone already thinks that Rose are thick-skulled. We don't need another martyr for the cause.
Is that a new picture, Maxie?
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Nice.
A plump gazelle dressed in exquisite silks watched over him, sole witness to his downfall. She smiled at him with the ease of one who is wealthy enough to be a local wherever they go.
Are you okay?
Suddenly unequipped to offer a coherent reply, Ader stared in stunned silence. His delayed reaction was nothing short of concerning, given the circumstances, but the new bump on his head was not to blame for it.
I have a confession. That hand was drawn in 2017 and just repainted every single time. That hand has not changed in 7 years. At all.
Despite
you know what? That's fine. When you get it right the first time, you don't have to change it.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
Despite all the preconceptions screaming otherwise in his mind, this gazelle didn't appear to be hostile, murderous, or even the slightest bit interested in bringing about his death. In fact, the only demise that seemed imminent was hers.
What? Are you okay? What are you doing out and about in a place like this, ma'am? You lost or something?
In a way, I suppose. I'm hiding.
And here I am hollering down the street without a care in the world. I'm so sorry. I'll leave you be.
No need. I'm not in immediate danger, and I fully intend to be found. It is a matter of principle. I guess what I intend to be is a nuisance.
So you're playing some kind of rich gal hide and seek?
Does that lower your opinion of me much?
I mean, I ain't got much of an opinion of you yet. An impression, at most?
You've definitely made one.
The girl turned the curve of her horns toward the Ader-shaped indentation in the wall. She returned with a smirk, which only served to crease Ader's brow.
You ain't no coward, that's for sure. You gotta have a lot of gall or a lot of empty room in your head to go slumming it in a place like this.
You're one to talk.
Who, me? Pfft, no, of course not. I ain't one to talk to reckless moneybags who risk their one life dawdling and slander, chewing the rag with boneheads who fly straight into walls. Except I am, because that's what they call sarcasm in these parts.
I couldn't tell.
See? That's what I'm talking about. You can't survive out here if you don't know that much, ma'am. I know y'all better sorts like playing with fire,
But he could hardly bear the thought of going on his merry way and letting a young lady become a ransom note. Not even when his job, was on the line.
Y'all got space for one more player?
I was gonna say, his neck is in a future chapter.
You want us to hide together? Wouldn't that be reckless?
Good question. I wouldn't trust myself if I were a full-time slum dweller, but I'm a temporary slum dweller. An honorary slum dweller, if you will. You could trust me for about 10 minutes.
They laughed together under their breath, like old friends sharing a secret.
I don't know about safe, but I promise you won't be bored.
I would enjoy that.
The corner of her lips contorted upward into a sincere grin. It felt like the greatest achievement in the boy's entire life. Ader dusted his scruffy pants, straightened his fourth or fifth hand jacket, and cleared his throat.
It's a deal then. You're in luck today, ma'am. You get a hiding partner, a meat shield, and a tour guide for the unbeatable price of nothing at all.
Nothing at all.
Please stay close to the tower by your side and keep your wits about. Down danger alleys we go.
Ader said this with his chin up and a full chest, for anything else would have had him slapping his own snout, wondering what in the name of Hatsa was he getting himself into this time. Ader's anxieties were ample, unwholesome, and they tended to grow in the absence of dialogue. A few minutes stuck on a narrow staircase next to a wistful-looking girl, and he was already teaming with him. It occurred to him now that his meager wits were starting to rearrange after getting so terribly scrambled that running into a wall and ditching his job were potentially the least fatal of his long string of poor decisions.
So,
I believe there was a keyboard button to hide the text box and let us appreciate Sep's hips, right?
What was that?
Frederick was asking if there was a keyboard button to hide the text box so we can appreciate Sep's hips.
It's H or middle of the mouse.
Middle mouse.
Heck yeah.
You don't have access to
No
the
one
hips.
important. You'll know when you see them.
Yeah, I will know when I see them. Anyway,
Right, gotcha.
Always gotta appreciate a character who's almost wider than she is tall.
Ader didn't dare spare a single look in the direction of his rather nonchalant company. He couldn't afford that sort of stress in his life. Our literate protagonist hardly knew what a book was, or why it was generally poor manners to judge one by its cover, but he had just started to workshop the idea that the quality of one's clothes didn't necessarily reflect one's station in life. He didn't want to assume, of course, but the horned lady by his side could have easily been a thief dressing up on her way back from a Mark's house. Ader was pretty sure this was not the case, but what if? What if it was? What then? He'd get gored to death, that's what. The boy sidled one eye discreetly toward her comparatively large and sharp coiled black horns, hoping to find them a safe distance away from his face and all his fears. Fears that weren't eased by the liberty with which he found her inches away from his shoulder, gawking at his own antlers.
You're gonna make him shorter if you keep staring like that, ma'am.
Oh, sorry. Am I making you self-conscious? I was just trying to get a better look at your eye patch.
That ain't much better, you know?
Where would you have me look?
Anywhere but me.
A fine company you'll make then.
I thought we were supposed to be hiding.
And yet, I'd swear that I'd set out to find you.
Our favorite dear didn't know what to make of this sentence. She wouldn't grant him the time to digest it either.
The round will be over before we know it. Let me use my one chance to look at you.
I don't know. I kind of woke up too early, and I didn't have time to wash my face very well, and I don't really like being looked at, and I got a lot to get back to, and...
So you were in a rush. Am I keeping you?
Her expression morphed into an affected pout, an atrocious turn of events. Truth is, Ader wasn't just going to be late for work anymore, he'd be double late.
Now I got places to be, yeah? But you can keep me all you like. I mean, what's the matter at this point? May as well save myself the trip back home. Chances are I'm already fired.
The lady raised a single eyebrow. It was sharp enough to stab Ader in the common sense.
And you'd rather not cast the die?
Never been one to gamble.
I'm much the same as you. Metaphorically, that is. I do have a job to keep me busy.
Hey, I do too. I got like 15, in fact. I'm a farmer by birth, a smith apprentice by trade, a fighter by chance, a water seller by day, a rivet peddler by night, a beggar when necessity strikes.
Newly unemployed by choice.
If you want me to get, you can just say that, ma'am.
I hold nothing but your best interests at heart.
Well, that makes two of us. What do you call that situation?
Unbelievable.
The gazelle turned her face briskly away, toward the walls surrounding the market in the distance. Her walls seemed just as tall. Now, Ader wasn't exactly what we'd call smooth, suave, anything less than gritty, really, but even he knew that the conversation wasn't going right, left, or anywhere he wanted it to go. He fully realized that he was being led by the nose by some pretty lady who hadn't even asked him to stay. He could have just walked off, right then, and lived a life none the wiser to the trouble that would come.
Oh, you know, on second thought, what the hey? Look all you want. You got yourself a pass to the main event. Come and see
No, not
you
yet.
both.
That's later.
All the ways deer can grow wrong. Feast
I
your eyes
heavily
on the
enjoy
terror
Maxie's
from
little
jump today.
gremlin noises.
The error of nature. Long neck shovel hand.
That's my horny laugh.
Like Miller said, gremlin.
Yeah.
Ader made a little pirouette as he fell, headfirst, down the stairs. That was thankfully enough to earn him another smile.
I don't suppose you're an acrobat.
Hey, we actually get to see his hooves.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, good to see his goods.
No. Sep's the one who gets to see. Anyway,
Whoa.
I'm the whole circus act, man.
Ader wiggled one of his gigantic hands up in the air for her to inspect, trying to provide a solid argument for his thesis.
What are those?
He felt a nice, friendly grip on his hand, kindly pulling him up from the ground, and before he knew it, he found himself face to hand with the lady upstairs. She was eyeing him up and down, inspecting his hands in the way one would study an ancient carving.
My hands?
Were you born with them? How much weight can you lift? Can you use tools at all? How do you put on shirts? What's wrong with your neck? Is that a hood or a scarf? I love the pattern, by the way.
What's wrong with your face?
It bears mentioning that, at this point in his life, Ader had only been granted the honor of holding hands with 2 women, his mother and his boss. Both were rough and weathered by years of work, and both could beat him in arm wrestling given the occasion. Finely filed fingers gently wrapped around his arm were a complete novelty, even if their owner was a...
So?
I'm sorry, ma'am. What was the question?
You! What are you supposed to be?
I am a protagonist.
Obviously, the protagonist.
Can't you tell looking at these whappers? I'm a Carnrite fighter. I was just practicing my tackles back there, see?
Adder's like, I am a figment of your history.
Brag, but
I don't remember you, maybe you remember me.
Oh, so you're one of those head-butting brutes. I should have known.
No, I ain't no brute. I was just lying to impress you. You seen the size of these sticks on my head? What am I supposed to do with them? Tickle the other buck to death?
Then I guess you have yet to explain the part where you run into a wall.
Oh, just the usual around these lands. How I was running for my life. In fact, you and I should both get going before a local shows up with a knife.
His accidental rhyme earned him a little chuckle.
What you laughing about? Is there anything on my snout?
Is this another gig of yours? Street poet? Or could it be that you intend to steal my attention and my purse, seeing as how you seem so sure that I'm not here to rob you?
Ader was much too concussed to ponder his next words. All he saw was a chance to polish his charlatan skills, the one arguably good thing he acquired from Geoff.
Well, ma'am, folks around here come in 2 flavors. Stabby and gritty. But I'd never seen a thief that looked quite so pretty.
Oh, we're doing this.
I know what this means, but you're just so inspiring. That unrehearsed. I keep on rhyming.
That's one of my favorite deliveries in the game.
Oh no. Stop.
This is all new, isn't it?
Yeah, the whole thing is new.
I was gonna say...
I could keep on rhyming till I die. Because, lady, your beauty don't fit in a single eye.
Good-natured laughter stopped all of a sudden.
My what? Sorry?
Your beauty?
Really? How can it be that the intangible concept of beauty cannot fit within the boundaries of one eye?
Because it's so big?
My beauty is too big.
No, I mean, yes, I mean...
Yeah, that beauty. Big girl.
I said...
Love that beauty.
Oh, how inappropriate.
Inappropriate? What a fancy word, ma'am. You can call me worse things if you like. Or you can call the guards. Or Elogram. Or I could just save you the trouble and go jump off a cliff right now.
You can call me worse things if you like. I'm into it.
Well, the redhead. RF Rafferty is raiding with a party of 6. Hello.
Hello, Rafferty.
While the red-haired lady laughed and laughed, unable to muster the strength in her heart to stop, Ader stumbled back, uttering apologies that surely made no sense whatsoever. He might as well have recited another poem to apologize. We'll never know for sure, for his accent became so thick whenever he lost his school that academics to this day still argue if that way of talking can truly be considered Cyrnar. But I digress. It seems Ader wouldn't be allowed to die of shame quite so early.
Wait, no,
Yeah, we got chapters to go.
I'm not mad, but I will be if you make me run after you.
Ader halted in his step, but he remained too mortified to face her. It was a gazelle who circled around him to look him in the eye.
We can't have you running away now that I found you.
The deer wasn't sure what exactly she meant by that, but he couldn't quite gather the wits to think about it as she moved her hands to his sunken cheeks where nothing remained but gaunt skin attached almost directly to his skull.
Yes, it is you, isn't it? Short-horned, loud-mouthed, and one-eyed. Just so much more emaciated. Oh, how could you let this happen to yourself?
Ader's apple bounced in his throat, suddenly brought back to the present by the realization of how close her blue eyes were to his own.
I'm so sorry, ma'am. I don't know what came over me. I swear I ain't no...
Oh? So, you aren't the type that sees a pretty gazelle and splurts something daft every time?
No, of course not!
Listen, man. Listen, ma'am, it's a bit too early into your relationship for you to be concerned about what he's splurting.
Then is it just me that has this effect on you?
The effect? What are you talking about? I'm just a gentlemanly buffoon, ma'am. I open my mouth and silly stuff comes out. It don't mean nothing.
And out of the ladies' fall for it.
So you're a buffoon and a cad. What a terrible combination. You're bound to break someone's heart one of these days.
Why'd you keep talking like we knew each other?
Because you do know me. In fact, you've had me looking for quite a while now.
Ma'am, I think our 10 minutes are up. I don't know what you're selling, but I ain't gonna buy it.
Come on. Don't you remember that night on the bridge under Hirub's statue? With the guards laughing at you? You didn't hit your head that hard, did you?
I bet those guards had one haystack of a night laughing at some poor buck, but I'm pretty darn sure that wasn't me. I'd remember you. Trust me.
In other circumstances, perhaps. But I suppose a year would be far too long regardless. Oh well. That only leaves one way to find out.
The cryptic woman bit her lip just long enough to make Ader lose his need to understand the situation anymore.
Come closer.
Who, me?
Yeah, that would work on me too.
Honestly, like, I wish that was me.
Who, me? Almost asked the deer, yet there was no one else hiding in the mist of dawn.
I said come closer.
All right then, here I come.
And he just flops.
That's it. Come on. Don't make me walk over there. Boop. That's close enough.
She slipped right under Ader's arm, uninvited but not unwelcome.
Now, if you could get on your knees, You know what?
I wish that was me for real.
Maybe you should see a doctor after all.
Just see it! There you are!
Now, seriously?
In less than a blink, the gazelle's smile was back on her face. She turned to face the voice in the distance. It belonged to a doe in similarly flashy clothing, hurriedly stomping her way towards Joseph, apparently.
You called?
We've been looking everywhere for you!
And so you found me. Congratulations. Now, if you don't mind...
Miss Rochelle's had us searching for hours! She wants you back immediately!
Well, I'm kind of busy, so... would you be so kind to go tell her to find someone else to bother while I catch up with my friend here?
The fair's about to start! Head back already or you'll get us all in trouble!
The red-haired woman held her breath for what felt like an eternity. The entire world seemed to slow down to match her pace, afraid of moving another second forward.
I'm sorry. Was that an order?
What? Miss Rochelle said...
Say, do you know what happened to the last wench who had the gall to order me around?
Joseph's grin remained glued to her face, but her eyes had narrowed down to a squint, sharpening her long eyelashes even further.
I don't...
Care to find out?
The doe, looking for her, stammered, color drained from her mien. After a few tense seconds, Joseph clapped her hands.
Oh, sorry. Was that too much? Don't make that face, honey. I'm just joking here. I'm not idle enough to begin picking fights with my sisters, don't you think?
Right.
Then that's settled. Let's go.
Jasif whipped her tail as she spun in the opposite direction, making the choir of bells that hung from her hips announce her leave. Ader hadn't quite planned on sticking around so long, and he positively didn't mean to spy on anyone. He was just worried, of course. But now with good reason. The withdrawn gazelle that had so eagerly tried to convince him of their acquaintance had all but vanished, and the terrifying lady that took her place seemed to have forgotten all about him. Baron or not, Ader didn't have many chances to make new friends, especially in the upper echelon, to whom he owed a great deal of kindness when his dinner depended on it. He thought it wise, therefore, to introduce himself before this strange beauty left his life for good.
Wait!
Yes.
His call came out a little more desperate than he intended, and who could blame him? He had found himself petrified at the sight of her all over again. Her bright red hair curling into messy waves behind her neck, her horns shining in such a deep reflective black, her long fluffy tail lazily wagging behind her, captured halfway through a step. What was a nobody like him doing talking to a woman like her? Why would she ever bother to look so much as to look back? Ader's heart skipped a beat, and once he realized so, he would have sooner had it stop beating altogether. No,
Trust
no
his
way!
Stoker's
I wasn't looking
ears.
at her! Ader yelled internally. Beads of sweat began falling from his temple as his face became even more flustered. There's no way Flustered as he was, he barely registered the gazelle walking down the few steps that separated them. As if meaning to aggravate his inner turmoil, Jasif smiled one last time with a mischievous glint in her eyes.
Don't worry, I haven't forgotten about you. It's your turn to find me next, handsome.
Ader was so many things. He was goofy, he was loud, he had a smile that could light up a whole town, he was gigantic, and yet, if there was a thing he'd never call himself, it was, no doubt, handsome. After all, Bucksworth may as well be as large as his horns are, and his were, well, tiny. Almost childlike. So that offhanded compliment, that mere insinuation that someone actually found him good-looking, made his heart flutter. And by flutter, I mean it may as well have burst out of his chest right then.
And so it did.
So for just 1 second, he forgot that the lady in front of him was horned. For a moment, he forgot all the horrible things he'd heard about gazelles and those who fancied them. His face turned red. His jaw came loose, but he had been able to articulate. Had he been able to articulate, he'd completely forgotten the ability to talk. He still knew how to do one thing, though. This time, his shame was stronger than the wall.
So that's been the written.
Wait,
the written.
what? Stop right there.
meeting.
What was that last bit?
That's. Oop. So yeah, how y'all feeling about the new bit?
I think it works a lot better.
Enjoy it. Yeah, I enjoy it quite a bit.
It's definitely less chaotic. That's the last major change in I think of what you've played. Like that's the last major text change. The rest of it's mostly art, just new updated art.
So, what do you want to do? You want to skip ahead to chapter 5?
Oh, you're asking us?
Yes, I'm asking everybody.
I don't know.
I'm fine either way. It's really up to the rest of y'all. I mean, I'd be okay with another playthrough. The game rewards a multiple plays for me, but if people want to just go ahead, that's fine too.
Let's everybody in the chat think.
Vote now on your phone.
So wait, why don't we do an actual vote?
Yeah, Matt Miller, could you do a poll?
Yeah, who wants to see us replay until the new stuff, and who wants us to go straight to the new stuff?
I mean,
who wants to go straight?
Nobody wants that.
Who wants to go gay to the new stuff?
I beg to differ. Okay.
Jump to chapter 5. Duration 5 minutes. Sure. Do we want to allow additional votes for channel points?
No.
No.
All right.
So while we're waiting for the votes to come in, Maxie.
Yes.
How does it feel to have this game completed?
Well, here's the thing. I am like in the not feel process. I've been like not feeling for like a few months now. Like people have asked me over and over, like, how does it feel? I'm like, I don't know what are feelings. So I think right now it's still like not quite real. Like once people get to the end and I see that there are no big bugs left or anything, I'll be fine. But for now it's just like, it's just another day in the life of Maximolina.
I can picture you just putting a big picture outside your house. It's basically a desert. That's how you feel. It's like a desert
sometimes.
So yeah, I always like I've always like struggled to like process stuff, like even good stuff, you know. Like I have a hard time dealing with like big feelings, right? So
I know what you mean.
Yeah, so I just push it away. I'm like, I'll deal with this later. Now we're in later, and I'm like, what do I do with all these lemons, you know?
So I have a question, and Max, you don't feel like you need to answer this if you don't want to. One of the things that Lynn said during the beginning was that, at least as I understand it, she said that her surname was Askadath. I'm trying to remember. I remember that name, but I don't remember who had it.
Oh, you don't remember Cam? Poor Cam. Poor boy.
I was gonna say, wasn't that fuck, his name went right out of my head. Big guy, very dramatic, definitely gay. Thank you.
Elbar. But is the wimpy one. So I gave him a cleavage now.
Good choice.
I feel like that was important information.
Good choice.
Maxi,
we need more visual information.
I have a question, and it's a very important question.
Oh no!
Could Adder crush a coconut in his hands, like if you wanted to? Could he just like, you know?
You know what? Like, I think his arms are really fucking thin, so I'm afraid like he may be able to crush a coconut once, you know, and then his arms will like splinter, like explode. So
Jonas, I can't believe you're out here exploding Adder's arms.
I'm sorry.
Oh, we have a meme in my house, because someone asked me once, like, can Seb crush a watermelon between her thighs? Nothing sexual. And I was like, nothing sexual.
Nice.
So like my husband and I sometimes just go at each other. Can this happen? Nothing sexual. So.
I've seen someone do that on Twitch. It was the guy who did not have particularly thick thighs. He just went to the gym regularly.
He's strong.
Well, strong.
She could crush a bowling ball? I don't know about that. She could definitely crush a pelvis.
Oh no!
What a way to go.
Like, Donatello? Michelangelo? I don't remember which one of the two died in the middle of it. Either Donatello or Michelangelo. The actual Renaissance artist, not the turtle.
I was gonna ask him, like, the turtles are dead?
Yes, Stoker, and they died fucking. Okay.
Oh no.
Oh my.
And then you nearly killed me.
Alright, we still got like another 40 seconds on this thing, but it looks pretty definitive. 80% says they want to replay.
Alright.
Okay.
I guess we're doing this for a while.
Might as well. Why not? I want to see the new art. I want to see the cleavage.
There's
I do want to see you do stuff.
I think like the backgrounds are much better now at large. Like, they're less abstract, you know.
Not to mention, I have to get Lynn's reaction to the bathhouse scene again.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest. I want to see this head to toe from the beginning.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
I mean, there's lots to analyze, and also Eka.
Yeah.
I like that with a book, honestly.
The bit about the wall or the... Oh, I see. Ruminants haven't always been so successful at living together as they are now. Wars, gods, horn shape. All the excuses used to be different used to make a lot more sense to mortals back then.
No, I know that, but there's no reason I would have thought something so awful.
Ader was a young, insecure stag in a time when every row felt the need to deny having a single drop of Baron blood in their veins. Why would he think any different?
Why wouldn't he? That's the point, isn't it? That he was different from the rest. How could he believe any of that crap?
How should I know? I never had anything against gazelles.
Sounds like you weren't a whole lot bothered by those who did, though.
You're right, I wasn't. I just thought there always had to be someone to punch down on. I spent all my energy making sure that would never be me. That was the world as I saw it, and I never hoped it could be any different. Never wanted it to change. Ader, though, I think he never meant to do that to anyone. I think he just hadn't realized that there was more to the world than the fears he had been raised with. He had to butt heads with more than one type of wall in his life. I could be wrong, of course. His understanding could have been yet another pretense, and he may very well have lied about wanting to fight with the rest of us until his very last breath. Now, I'm sure he did grow to be a wise and kind man, Lynn. Much wiser and kinder than I ever was, at least. Neither of us would be here making excuses for that dumbass otherwise.
Well, I don't care about you, but he'd better rise up soon. I have high-quality standards for my ancestors.
I'm glad you do, kid. Now, where were we?
So I was asking because Damas is like a child-level insult in Spain. Like that's the kind of thing like a little kid would say.
Yes, that is like something that a little kid would say, but it's the bad little kids who say it.
No, here it's like a very, 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 very like not an insult at all. Like it's like tonto el culo is like such a soft nothing at all, you know.
Excuse me. Yeah, well, you know, America's America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a thing against bats.
Not me.
The sun was already up in the sky by the time Ader managed to remember that he was supposed to go to the bazaar.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to arrive so late. Please don't kill me.
But lo and behold, there was no one around.
Ha! What do you know? First again. I'm gonna have to ask for a raise at this rate. Oh, hold up. Now ain't the time for that. Andy could get here at any... Boss! Ha! Gotcha. You're gonna end up giving someone a heart attack if you don't quit sneaking up on people like that, you know. Don't think for a second I forgot I was supposed to prepare the stall. No, ma'am. But, you know, days are getting longer, and it's harder to sleep at night, and the streets are real crowded, and...
Behold, the offering her natural habitat.
Ana's silent glare told him that she didn't believe a single word, but she didn't care enough to pry either.
Hey now! Quit giving me that look, Missy! You got here late, too.
She pointed
Checkmate,
at her.
atheists.
She pointed at her hair. Drops of silvery green water were dancing on her tips, painting the ground beneath them.
And how is it my fault that you were busy dyeing your hair?
Leaving him with that perfectly valid question unanswered, she walked back to pick up a big bag she left a few steps away. She lifted it up with a single hand and then headed towards the stall, closely followed by Ader. It was about time that they began working. A sudden thought popped up in Ader's mind as he helped her set up their carpet.
So, how come the patron ain't here? It's just going to be the two of us today?
Ana simply shrugged.
You tell your
Well,
pa I
so-
got here late, right, boss?
She punched his arm with such strength that she almost made him fall sideways.
Ow! What did I... Oh, tail. Sorry, boss.
This little reminder that that was a sensitive issue effectively killed the conversation. People from all over Heirloom began congregating in the bazaar, turning the walled plaza into a sea of spice, trinkets, and deer. The currents of that sea were still difficult to understand for Ader, who often found himself pushed to the ground in the busiest hours. Today would be especially lively. It was the beginning of Dawnsoon season, and so the festive Akon had to make sure to bid a proper farewell to the rain clouds so they'd be back again by the end of it. A pleasant change from Ader's usual day-to-day, working in Ana's forge under the continuous risk of suffering a heat stroke or third-degree burns. Or that's what he thought at first.
Welcome, welcome! We got the best prices in town! Come on and see what goods we offer!
There was no reaction whatsoever to his incessant yelling.
That is a big beast.
Big tree.
Other than Aina snickering at him for trying so hard, that is.
Sure must be fun watching me break my back so your dad won't yell at us.
Aina's like, yes it is.
With a long sigh, Aina sat up and cast a tired glance over the carpet. She reached out and grabbed a small, shiny dagger. After checking its sharpness against her gloves, she began stabbing the air as possible customers approached the stall, attempting to showcase its intended use. Aina quickly put his hands over her shoulders, discreetly bringing her arms down.
You know what? Nah, take that back. There ain't no deer in the world that works harder than Aina of the Test. There just ain't. A hard worker like you deserves a good rest every once in a while, so just let me take care of this, boss.
He did his best attempt at a natural smile. Aina, who couldn't care less about any of this, simply shrugged and sat back, still wielding the knife. She let her hand fall on one of the stones that paved the bazaar and effortlessly tore it from the ground, deciding that it served better as a sharpening tool.
You do you.
It was best to leave the issue alone. Ada had figured out quite some time ago that Aina was a creature of habit, and her habits included steadfastly refusing to put any effort into anything she didn't care about. But it never really bothered him at all. There was something fascinating about watching her get completely absorbed by whatever task she had chosen to focus on, really. Ader never quite had that level of dedication to his craft, if he even had one. She could hammer tirelessly at a single hunk of metal for hours at a time if the piece required so, all while judging Ader's every move with the same intensity. She was just as capable of sitting in a corner and glaring away the hours while she sank deep into her own imagination. That's why he immediately knew something was off when she turned her face away from the dull knife of her own accord.
Huh? Well, what's wrong, boss? Wait, is that... Oh, no. Don't tell me he's coming this way!
And I wasn't going to tell him either way, but coming this way he was. He, being Ader's worst one-sided nightmare. How do you say that?
To be fair, like it's a very old word, so like the way we say it in Spanish would be almotacen, but
Almotacen? The Almotacen of heirloom soak. Taylor, the treasurer, followed by his pale retinue. Ader didn't even have time to yelp before the merchant among merchants politely announced his presence with an ancient greeting.
Tesakirmat, Miss Tess. I'm aware of how hectic the stall must be today, so I won't keep you long. I simply realized what a rare occasion it is to see you out in a crowd, so I thought I would take a moment to come and pay my respects to you. I hope you'll find some solace seeing a familiar face among the hustle and bustle.
And his eyes turned sharply away from Taylor, closely accompanied by the tip of her knife. The stag's head followed the motion, only to find the eerily immobile set of deer waiting by his side.
I understand the apprehension you feel towards my company, but I'm afraid these are the only escorts I can ever trust with my back anymore. It's a dangerous world out there for people like me. Speaking of which, where's your father? Has he considered my latest proposal? Or will I have to send any more of my people his way?
Ader didn't miss the way Aina's fingers clenched around the dagger she was sharpening.
Three! We completely forgot what day it is, boss! Look how low the sun's already! What you burning daylight for? Ain't it time to do that thing you had to do? You know, that thing? The thing with the... stuff?
To say that Aina had no clue what Ader was trying to do would be a vast understatement. It would imply that she had ever considered that Ader had enough wits to draw plans, or that she had the social acumen to pick up on them to begin with. At any other moment, perhaps our protagonist would have realized just how much he had in common with his boss. Right now, however, he couldn't help but fear the strange talent both Aina and Taylor had for ignoring his interruptions.
Right, well, I don't want you feeling like a wet shoe on our carpet, Master Seth, but you may want to go gut someone else for the time being. Aina's for real busy today, and it don't look like the patron's planning to honor us with his presence, so,
Ader didn't do anything more remarkable than put a hand on Aina's shoulder to make Taylor shoot a look in his direction at last. It was but a brief glance. A glance best reserved for a slug crawling up your leg. A glance so scalding it could make weeds wilt and crumble to dust within seconds. The kind of glance that would normally precede the untimely death of an elongated yellow stag. As Ader's luck would have it, however, recognition set in the merchant's gaze just at the right moment. An unsettling half-smile formed in his face instead.
Ah, yes. I remember you now. Geoff's little paramour. The oversized one-eyed fawn that wanted to be a knight. 1 Durandun for a full set of armor was what you requested, if I'm not mistaken.
Nope. Sir, I'd never dare say you're mistaken, but I doubly not dare say so when it comes to numbers. Imagine it. Poor farm boy could barely count trying to tell thee, Taylor, how money works. Darn, just thinking about it cracks me up. No, sir, I can't. I just can't believe for one moment the most famous loner in all the heirloom would be so kind to remember a dumb buck's dumb dreams, much less his ugly friggin' mug.
Of course. I never forget a face, no matter how weathered or insignificant. That'd be remiss of me.
Taylor nodded to himself thoughtfully, giving Ader a chance to discreetly crawl behind Aina. Despite the Yellow Stack's desperate inner pleas, Taylor's eyes soon shifted towards him again.
Forgive my curiosity. I just can't help but wonder. How can a country boy with ambitions as great as yours go on living, day after day, knowing he can't aspire to more than his deplorable life?
Yes, it's the thing you all know.
Can barely stay sober enough to feed himself. Never mind someone twice his size. It must be exhausting, staying alive.
It seems there's a bug in this version currently that Steam achievements will not unlock. Like they should be recorded, so like I just have to push an update later today that will make the Steam achievements work again. But like they are tied to a save, so like the moment you load your save, they will all be fixed.
Okay.
Oh no, not at all. We manage, sorta.
Taylor's soft features drew closer to Ader, but he barely even noticed. His only eye remained glued to Taylor's bodyguards.
It's not too late to consider the offer I made you back then. Let me put those deformed hands of yours to better use. I could give you the armor and the money to pay for it now, if you come work for me in the sewers. It won't be much worse than whatever the blind witch has you doing.
That's mighty kind of you, Mr. Taylor, but it's poor manners to consider job offers in front of your own boss.
You make a fair point. Perhaps once I've torn that red scab off our guild's back then.
That seems like a good luck sort of statement. Like, when are they ever going to get rid of red?
Hey, now.
Taylor had finished his farewell with a bow, and thus left the moneylender at last, followed by the delayed rhythm of a calcareous march. Calcareous.
Good word.
Ader's body had somehow contorted into being nearly indistinguishable from Aina's at this point. He needed a few more seconds to thaw out of that position.
I can think of a few other positions that would make his body blend in with Aina's.
Boo! Boo!
What the hell you laughing at now, huh? That weirdo ain't no joke, you hear me? Last time I talked to him, it only took me shoving my hoof in my mouth half a second to swish, get a blade on my neck. And all I could see out of this eye was the creepy face of one of those golem...
Aina's ears perked up, though her gaze remained firmly locked on the blade.
No, yeah, of course you'd find it funny, Mistress Miss Tess. Paying my respect sure is a fancy way of saying he got the hots for you.
Ader barely avoided getting his liver punctured by an extremely flustered Aina. The hours passed by slowly and painfully, for they were completely ignored by any passerby. Well, actually, avoided rather than ignored. It was no surprise. The merchant, Ader's patron, and his mute daughter were two of the most despised people in the city. In spite of the incredible variety of antiquities and smithery that the merchant had for sale, no one ever bought a single thing. And there were plenty of reasons for that. Even Ader had some serious doubts about working for an old Barhan man whose fur was redder than blood and an albino smith that insisted on dyeing her hair green. The fact that they worked independently from Heirloom's Traders Guild probably had something to do with it too. In any case, it was well afternoon, and they hadn't done anything but sit around the whole day. Ader pressed his lips together and began drumming his fingers against the floor. He looked askance at Aina, hoping his subtle call for attention had stirred her curiosity, But there was no answer. He'd have to be the one to actually break the silence, as usual.
So, hey, Aina. I bet you're still wondering just what in the world could make a hard-working buck like this one get here so late this morning.
Aina stopped hitting the rock with the blade. She barely moved her eyes towards Ader.
Well, buckle up, because there's a whole story there. This got to stay between you and I. But, this morning... I saw a gazelle. Not any gazelle. No, ma'am. She was the fanciest gazelle girl I've ever seen. And there she was in the slums.
Ana's definitely got that what inanity am I going to have to sit through today kind of look.
But
Ana's inquisitive gaze suddenly made Ader very conscious of his own words and thoughts. Ader was most certainly not used to having her pay attention to him when he spoke.
But ugly face! So I just ran away because she was so awful. Ugh, yuck. Yeah.
I like her buck teeth.
Ader could feel how Ana's lilac eyes stared at his very soul, piercing a hole with a question that she meant to ask. Why, it was such an intense look that he felt flustered. With her usual silent demeanor, Ana brought her two gloved hands in front of her face. She balled them both into a fist, raising just her index fingers. Then she lifted them until they rested on her forehead like tiny horns.
Horns?
With a quick motion, she took her horns in her mouth, biting them.
I ain't no gosh darn freaking horn eater, okay? I like does.
The best way to define it.
I kept thinking like how terrible this option is now that the first encounter is less that, you know. So like now other just suddenly goes like, dude, she was so hot, man. You know what's his, you know.
I'm sure it was in the back of his mind the entire time.
Oh no, yeah, he was dying, you know, like he was about to explode, like back there, but like, it's just a vocalization of it, you know.
The best way to define Ana's smile at that precise moment would be terrifyingly mean. While her bad temper was known and feared among the other merchants, it was unusual for her to be so acidic, especially towards Ader. Our dear boy couldn't help but notice this change, and he wasn't going to keep it to himself, of course.
You're acting real ugly, boss.
The smile on her face vanished, replaced instead by a grimace. In response to this affirmation, Ana merely shifted her gaze back to the blade and resumed her task, pretending she hadn't heard him. But if Ader was known for one thing, it was his incessant need to stick his nose in everyone's business.
What's wrong, Ana?
A wrinkle formed over her nose as she focused on keeping calm, but Ader didn't get the message.
Come on, don't just keep everything to yourself. You know there ain't a single thing in the whole of Dockna you can't tell me.
No sooner had he finished that sentence, Ana slammed the dagger she was sharpening against the ground, effectively sinking its tip in it.
Right. I know there ain't a single thing you can tell me either. This is one of them metaphors things Gaff loves. He says that a hushed mouth ain't got nothing on an open
you just
heart.
Ana got up all of a sudden, her face red in anger. Ada was preparing himself mentally for the beating that he expected would ensue, but instead she just plopped down on the ground, sitting with her back against his. Our dear Buck was puzzled, to say the least, but Ana didn't even make a sound. She just sat behind him, completely still and hidden from the public eye. Of course, the possibility of getting whacked in the head was now more real than ever, so Ada didn't even attempt to guess why she'd ever do that.
What was the patron thinking?
Well, he probably didn't expect you two to play, hide and seek in the stall.
I think for this version,
oh my gosh, it's a giant green capybara.
You are a capybara.
You were saying this version needed?
Yeah, this is the most updated like face in this version. I think Illigrab really needed an update.
Oh yeah. Ada and Ina immediately jumped away from each other, doing their worst best attempt at looking half professional. A thunderous laugh resonated over the ruckus of the bazaar.
Illigrab?
It's respectable Illigrab Bunthalos to you, boy. But please, don't hold back on my account. I'll just look the other way.
What?
And so appeared the man that was so red that it would seem that he'd stolen all the color his daughter was lacking.
Patron!
One of my favorite characters.
So he gets the respectful treatment and I don't. I see how it is.
What's that salacious doll cop doing to my daughter now?
They're just strengthening their ties of friendship. Or is this a budding love?
The merchant shook his cane, hitting Illigrab's twiggy leg with a loud thunk. The tree man just wiggled his mustache in response.
Whoa! Hold up! We weren't doing anything, Patron.
That's the problem, you come aground! You lighter sack! You!
A coughing fit saved Ada from the more old-timey insults which he could barely comprehend. Once he'd recovered, the merchant put his bearded face next to Ader's, resting the tip of his cane on Ader's chest. He opened his toothless mouth slowly, his breath reeking more like bleach than liquor.
You haven't sold a single thing, have you?
Now, that's hardly their fault, Red.
I'm sure this Yaltson was just frolicking with my daughter as usual!
She's old enough to frolic as she pleases.
She hasn't even come of age yet!
Of course she hasn't. There's no way for her to pass that right.
Of course there is! She just needs to open her mouth and stop being an idiot!
The only idiot here is the one talking, Patron. Ana's just mute.
I wish that rub off on you! And maybe you'd learn to keep your mouth shut when adults are talking!
But I did pass the coming of age right, sir! I got them adult horns and...
Shut up! Don't you have anything to say about this, insolent child? Ana?
She walked away while you two were arguing.
Then why didn't you say so sooner, you overgrown sapling?
She looked like she needed it.
This is all your fault! And yours!
He stabbed Ader's nose with the tip of his finger.
What did I do?
That stupid child's been acting up since you first arrived!
Don't blame the poor boy. She's always had an attitude, and you know it.
I don't care! You two'd better go bugger off somewhere else! Or I swear to Arab that I'll hit you so hard that you'll be cropping out your teeth for a week!
Both Ader and Illigrab winced at that.
Now hold up, what?
Come on, Adder! Those two clearly want some alone time. And he'll have plenty of that when I leave him tied to the pyre next time I find a mob outside the shop.
Illigrab took Ader by the cape and lifted him off the ground as they walked away. It didn't take Illigrab long to notice Ader's unusual reticence to speak.
Please, don't let Red's words affect you. He's, worse today. There's a storm coming from the west, and it's making us old people nervous.
Is there a storm coming from the west?
Preach and holler all he want. That don't bother me much.
You know what? There was a storm here today.
Is it West's fault, though?
Is it my fault?
Oh.
I mean, I don't cry anymore, at least. What he said to Ana, though? Now that's going 2 paces past the league too far. So what if she can't swear the oath thing? The 3 won't get mad at her for being mute. And anyway, Ana don't gotta pass no right. It ain't like she's getting married any day soon, right?
There. Got it all out of your system, boy?
You know what? All this stuff I'm saying means radish stew if I don't say it to her face. I gotta find her and make sure she's alright.
Illigrab didn't reply to that last affirmation. He placed Ader carefully on the ground and patted his cape to straighten it.
Well, in that case, I have to go back to keeping watch on the fair. So, this is where we say goodbye for today. Hey, I'll send someone to fetch you if I see her, okay?
Ader nodded resolutely. They waved goodbye to each other. And then the buck just stood there wondering where to start looking when the bazaar was half a league from gate to gate. Assuming she was still in the bazaar at all.
Finally! I thought that fluffy bastard was never leaving.
Geoff walked into the scene with a huge smile as the giant disappeared in the distance.
Afternoon, Mr. Bard.
Oh, lad, what a face.
Well, see, it's a long...
Not a word. Thy mien speaketh clearer than thy tongue doeth. You're hungry.
Nah, I ain't in the mood to...
Well, I am. And I can't play a song when my stomach's growling a gazelle. Let's get some fried leaves.
Sorry, Bard, I ain't got time for any of that. I gotta go look for Aina. She just ran away angry as all get out, and I know darn well if I don't go check up on her, no one's gonna...
And I thought my songs were monothematic.
Geoff flicked the strings of his oud one by one, deep in thought, while Ader just paced around.
I know just the place to look.
Geoff expertly snuck through the crowds, moving with such ease that he seemed to be little more than a shadow. Ader did his best to keep up with him, though that was hardly an easy task when he was one head taller than most other deer. The place Geoff was looking for wasn't in the plaza itself, surrounded by stalls and all their merchandise, but rather one of the many alleys that led to the bazaar.
High detail. Deer fighting.
The crowd there was bustling with life as well, but not quite at the same manner. They were all rowdy deer, pushing and cheering.
The blobby NPCs.
Karnme alley. Karnme alleys were very different from the official sort. While killing was still very much frowned upon, there was no chivalry, no one set of rules. There was no way of knowing if the horns you were being gored with were hygienic. There were punches and kicks and all sorts of cheats. It was chaos. And for that and several other reasons, Aina was a huge fan of unofficial Karnme. Sadly, as much as Ader jumped and pushed and yelled, she wasn't anywhere to be found.
Alas, your fair maiden is in another alley.
Ader cast a long glance over the improvised battlegrounds, attempting to find her one last time.
That's too bad. Aina kicked some serious ass here.
Good thing she's not allowed to fight.
Yeah, ain't no way they're gonna let it do.
A golem at her.
Geoff cast a very serious look in his direction. This wasn't the first time they'd had this discussion, and it wouldn't be the last.
How many times do I gotta tell you? Aina is not a golem, Kay? She's a doe. It's just she's a bit of a weirdo.
Weirdo. Right. Tell me, Adder dearest, how many albino does can you name off the top of your head that can lift your heavy butt with just one hand?
Aina! Now let's go! We gotta find her!
Why do I even bother? Look at her. Golem or not, she's just a little cabbage head hiding in the crowds of this enormous city. She's damn good at hiding. And do you know why people hide?
'Cause they don't want to be found.
Geoff extended his arms towards him in a dramatic manner, remarking how correct he was.
You're not gonna find her. So why don't you go and use your thick skull for something useful? Like bringing us money so we can have dinner for once.
Geoff pointed at the ring with his horns, and Ader knew better than to insist. With a heavy sigh, Ader nodded and began walking towards the ringmaster.
Wait, there's just one more thing. Your bag of coins. You wouldn't want to lose what little we have to the hands of, say, some ill-intentioned crook, now would you?
Better the evil you know, right?
Geoff extended his hand a bit too keenly, waiting for Ader to find the purse he usually hid within his sash. But...
Whoa, Bard. You're really gonna bust a gut laughing.
Don't tell me you lost it.
Alrighty then.
Geoff's scrawny body trembled like a branch about to snap off.
Just go. All right. See that sweaty blockhead over there with the glistening fur and a charming smile? That's your foe. I'll go place my bet now. Are you feeling like a winner, ladder?
Charming.
Oh, hold up! You mean the guy with them sharpened horns?
Oh, darn, Bard. Your confidence in this poorly put together row is much appreciated, but as much as it hurts me, and it does, I think I'd rather go to bed hungry today.
What?
What if he hits me in the face? I don't want to go from Adder the One-Eyed to Adder the No-Eyed!
Then do enlighten me, my boy, on how in the name of the Hatsa do you pretend to become a knight if you can't handle even a rack pointed at you? No wonder you can't even catch a hint, yellow piece of mangy venison. Sorry about that.
What are you mumbling there, Goff?
I said I'm going to walk you through this. So, oh, help me three if you mess up.
Hey, let this toe in. Hey, girl, you sure eat your veggies. But those sticks on your forehead, I can't fool anyone.
I feel compelled to mention this update. I made Adder's chest bigger.
Nice.
I wanted
If
her to
he's
have,
serious, this is gonna be easier than I thought.
like there's so many comments of his chest.
Wait, there's
and
a
the one
fight
bigger.
coming up! Holy horns! You have to tell me everything about it!
She wants blood.
What kind of fighting style did Adder use? Was it antler rattling? He was a rattler, right? Did he prefer grappling or thrusting? Or was he more of a brawler instead? Swish, swish, bam! Punching them right in the... Wait, did they even have any hand reps his size?
Give me a moment. I think I have to sneeze. What were any of those words? I don't really know the rules of Carnivine. I thought you just had to hit people until they fainted. Oh god, it's nothing I can come up with is gonna live up to our expectations. I can't deal with the pressure. Ah! You said you knew the knight like the palm of your hand, didn't you? The new bearer of the tale of this magnitude should be able to pin a memorable fight scene all on their own if that's the case. Prove you're worthy of your name, Lynn.
Oh my god, you're right! Yes, this is my moment to shine! Leave it to me!
Yes, good. I shall go and leave you to it, to not influence you.
Let's see, what would the knight do? Right! He needed a few tips first. So Gyoff took Adder aside and held him under his arm. He said, Adder, mine lad, 'tis a dangerous fight that awaits us. But if not in the strength of thy body, I believeth in the strength of thine heart. What would he saith is the greatest feat a fighter should at each moment striveth for? Well, diggity yee-haw, Bard! What a tootin', rootin', mighty fine question that is. Adder nodded thoughtfully to himself and then continued, I reckon that would be... Honor, as expected of a knight, dearest friend. Thou shalt be a rattler then. Ah, honorable style amongst honorable styles. The way our ancestors squareth, where two deer shalt proveth the might of their horns rather than that of their mind. But hoy, Bard, yelped Adder. Mine horns are so teenily tiny. Gyoff smirked. This is where your strength lieth, mine Adder. There is an advantage to short horns, thou see. No one shalt be able to lock their horns around yours to grapple thee to the ground. Your advice is ne'er unwise, Gyoff. This is why I love you so daringly dearly. Adder, you beautiful boar. Everyone will find out if thou keepest talking so loud. We must...
I told you she was a shipper.
Layeth the whole
hardcore
world
shipper.
bask in the warmth of our passion. Oh, Adder. Smooch, smooch, smoochy smoot.
Lynn, how's that scene going?
It's going.
Adder found himself alone at last, his dearest friend lost in the blurry tides of people surrounding the ring. Veins were starting to pop in his eye, making it even harder to see anything except the stag waiting in front of him. The deer with sharp horns smirked in his drunken haze, clearly looking down on Adder. It wasn't the first time someone pitied him and lived to regret it, and as the drunkard would soon learn. The ringmaster looked left and right, making sure that both fighters knew what they were about to get into. He lifted his hand carefully as he stepped back, and then, "Go!" he screamed with a hand chop. The towering deer charged towards Adder like a runaway fur, horns lined and ready to slam into him with the full force of a Makadar stampede. But the road didn't move a single muscle. Ada merely waited, silencing all voices that screamed at him to run and die. He didn't even assume the step rider's stance. He just waited, closing his eyes lest the sight of his incoming enemy would betray his nerve. And when the time was right... he realized that there was no such thing as a right time when one has absolutely no idea what to do next. Ada waited and waited, hoping that some divine inspiration would strike him, but the only thing that struck him was a brick wall as he flew all the way across the alley and right past any chance of ever amounting to anything in his life.
Is the music sounds here?
You're dead.
Well, I
After
didn't
such...
realize that was the music that sounded there.
Well, good night, everybody.
After such a shameful defeat, the writer decided to take a page from Ada's book, literally. She began writing these words as a means to stall her own anxiety as she tried to understand how she managed to dig herself into such a narrative hole. She had certainly made a mistake somewhere. It was obvious to her prodigious mind that a boy so preoccupied with doing what was good and right, true and right, would hardly be willing to do whatever it took to stand victorious and carve a space for himself in the annals of history. Our wonderful narrator started to realize that perhaps she had misunderstood something about Ada, for she could picture no scenario where a well-meaning and upstanding street fighter could ever get past his first night in the Slander District.
Oh no! Speaking of, I just realized I made a bug. I was like, wait, what? Wait, where's that sound? Why is that song sounding? And I'm like, wait a minute. Oh no!
Umilindibili of Askadath, true descendant of the night, decided to revisit her decision, thinking more deeply about what kind of priorities her ancestors would have.
Ah, so thou art a brawler, dearest friend. I have indeed taughteth you well. There is no honor in death. If thine horns will not aid you in battle, use those hands the gods gave you. Pummel them to the ground. Thou shalt win this fight and prevail until the next. But hoy, Bard! Yelped Adder. Mine hands are so bogglingly big! Yelp smirked. All the better to swat their faces away. If they trieth to thrust towards thee with their large horns, thou shalt only need to slap them into the ground. Stand victorious over those who would hurt you, mine Adder.
And then they smooshed the kid back quietly. Ada found himself alone at last. His dearest friend lost to the blurry ties of people surrounding the ring. Veins were starting to pop in his eye, yada 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 yada. The deer with sharp horns smirked in his drunken haze, clearly looking down on Ada. It wasn't the first time someone pitied him and lived to regret it, as the drunkard would soon learn. The ringmaster looked left and right, making sure that both fighters knew that they were about to get what they were about to get into. He lifted his hand carefully as he stepped back, and then "Go!" he screamed with a hand chop.
Alright, what did I miss? I'm finally back.
The towering deer charged toward Ada like a runaway for her horns lined and ready to slam into him with full force of Makadar Stampede. But the road didn't move a single muscle.
You missed the whole shipping bit.
Oh no, the shipping!
Yes, Lynn was shipping Adder and Guff.
Oh man.
Smoochy smoochies.
Smoochy smoochy.
Ada merely waited, silencing all the voices screaming him to run. When the time was right. Sure, why not? Ada opened his arms wide, mentally prepared him and ready for the incoming attack. Or so he thought. Deer slammed his head into Ada's stomach, nearly sending him to the ground with a single well-placed blow. When all seemed lost, Ada managed to stand his ground, rapidly holding onto his foe's horns. Ada's foe smirked. By the time our hero realized he had fallen into a trap, his whole body was hovering several arms over the ground. The carrot strikes back. What a foul move. He would have turned Ada into a strainer if the yellow deer had a single bite's worth of meat in his body. Indeed, this Ada was nothing more than a hungry fawn who wanted nothing more than to get back home and hide. His life was a constant fight to find mere scraps. And yet this boy would one day become the greatest knight that Akathar has ever known. But to reach the height that awaited him, he had to live another day. Surviving isn't always the most honorable path, but it's a path we choose in this house! At first there was silence, then roaring laughter and shouts and jeers. The drunk deer needed a moment to realize that they were being directed at him. He reached down to pull up his pants as best he could, hastily hurling Adder away from the dirty trick. Still holding his foe's belt, Adder fell on his massive hands, barely managing to keep his head over the ground to avoid his shameful defeat after he'd already stooped so low. His foe was distracted. What now?
Flying roundhouse kick. I don't think he's capable of that. Well aware of the darkness of his situation and the nullness of his pride, Ader decided that if he had nothing to lose anymore, he may as well go down in flames. Our protagonist called out to his opponent, loudly mocking him as he jumped from hand to hand, making a fool out of both. The drunk deer turned around, red in shame and fury. He swore, enraged, and charged towards Ader once more, overlooking the tiny little fact that his pants were still down. The whole alley watched in silence as Ader's foe fell obstreperously to the ground, butt out and everything. The protagonist stared blankly ahead as he got up, his expression as unreadable as that of the public. It was pretty clear that this was a victory of sorts. Yeah, but no one was saying anything. After
butt
a few
out and everything.
After a few uncomfortable harumps, the ringmaster scratched the back of his head, looked around vehemently, and then proceeded to kindly pull up the drunkard's pants before screaming, "Down!" And so, Ader emerged victorious, winning the fight on his own terms, questionable and messy as they may be, and living to see another day. Wait, so he wins?
Of course he wins. He's the knight, you doof.
Right. Never mind then. Well done, Lynn.
I'm pretty great, yes.
Now, what's this storm page you're trying to hide behind your back?
Wait,
don't! So anyway.
Oh, I can't believe it! Still alive and kicking! Come on, show me the money, Bard! I want to bite every single coin!
I completely forgot to place the bet!
Good one. Gaff covered his face with his
no.
hands, making some sort of unintelligible noise that can only be described as the very sound of anguish.
Hey, Big Ed, I want to learn some tips too. I'll buy you dinner.
Hey now, sir! You really think you're gonna steal my manager away, so...
Gaff shut Ader's snout with one hand.
My dear boy, you sure gave it all today, so why don't you go and enjoy what's left of the fair? I have a gig in the tavern later. Money, yes. Don't expect me tonight.
With that, Gaff hurriedly shooed a very confused Ader away. Our protagonist wandered back towards the increasingly empty and silent plaza, unsure of where he was headed next. His victory had been but a brief rush against mediocrity, and now that he was alone, his mind seemed the comfort of a familiar place, a seething pit in his chest. No, he had no business there. Ader had spent enough nights hungry and alone to learn to eat his emotions for dinner, but still, his stomach protested, demanding to know when their next real meal would arrive. He could only walk a little farther to chase those thoughts away. No matter how resilient he was, he would eventually get tired and stagger his way back home, fall asleep in his little corner, dream of a sleepless dream, and wake up to a drunk Geoff crashing in. He'd head off to work, and Aina would get him some food. That's right. He held no doubt in his heart that his boss would come back. What had he made such a fuss for? Aina had never missed a single day of work in the whole year he'd been working for her. And anyway, she was way stronger than him. What could he do?
Sorry, folks. Maxie's having some connection issues.
I was about to say, he seemed to keep connecting and disconnecting over and over again.
Yeah, he keeps disconnecting on the VoIP server, but he's able to chat with us still.
Well, how the internet be sometimes.
He had no reason to say grand words like worry like he did. He never had. The sparse groups of citizens and visitors all around him still celebrated this blessed day. Dances and melodies and pastries a drifter from down yonder the steppes would never be allowed to take part in. This is just another empty day in the life of Aderson, son of Gerfaz. An abrupt lapse of lucidity made Ader turn his head away from his hooves at last. His ears perked up, and his fur stood on end as he tried to make sense of the careless trip he'd just taken. The music was deafening all around him, the crowd untraversable. He didn't know how far he'd walked or how he'd managed to make some space for himself, but it was obvious now that he had stumbled into some sort of performance. A stage where the whole city would be looking. What a dream! But a remote voice in the back of his thoughts told him that he didn't have time to find out what kind of show could attract such a crowd. That was not where he was supposed to be. He knew his gut hadn't been lying to him when he caught sight of a small flickering light coming from a discreet tent around which the crowd seemed to be oddly absent.
His eye wouldn't budge away from that curious flame shining in the dark. He sensed its offer warm and loud. Ada didn't even consider for 1 second that he may have been too hungry to think straight. He ignored all the warnings common sense would have taught him and marched straight into the tent. Dusk was still a ways off, but it may as well have been midnight inside. Ada combed the darkness desperately, startled by the sudden change in illumination. Sweet, frightful clarity once more. What in the name of the Hansel was I thinking? He pondered in breathless silence as his mind started conjuring bandits, assassins, and monsters ready to tear his cape into pieces and fashion toothpicks out of his horns for having been so reckless.
That sounded just like him, Rick. Well done.
But he didn't get to fret long, as his fears were interrupted by the birth of a flame in the corner of his sight. Its flare grew with unmeasured force, blinding him for a moment. He struggled to regain his vision, fearing those foes that only lived in his mind, foes he wouldn't face today either. Bathing in the light of an orb that was filled with fire, shaded in ways that made no sense whatsoever, awaited a silhouette. A very recognizable silhouette.
Took you long enough.
Big, just big squishy butt. Just,
Of course it was her.
Yeah, it's not a living.
Now she's got eyeglasses.
It happens.
All of a sudden, Ada wished he just found a bandit instead. At least he would have just felt justified in the terror that rooted his feet so firmly to the ground then. What is he doing?
Get out of the outfits.
The boy remained immobile, eye fixed on the woman in front of him, following the million glitters of the ruby necklace hanging from her neck, reflected all over, dragging his attention right back to the extravagant spread of finely woven silks so carelessly tousled on her hair. Anderson was never much of an analytical boy in his day-to-day, but he became quite the sleuth when it came to attempting to pinpoint the line of work a dress revealed, and without revealing nearly a single thing, this one managed to have him at a complete loss.
Nerd.
It was a pressing question he might have been too polite to ask, had the lump in his throat not taken care of that issue for him.
Don't just stand there. Take a seat.
I don't know. I've been sitting on my tail all day, and I got places to go, and I don't usually share tents with ladies, and...
Judging by her glare, she wasn't going to take no for an answer.
What am I saying? It'd have been mighty ugly of me to reject an invitation.
Ada did as asked and sat down on one of the many pillows laying around. Pretending to be crazy, he escaped, begging the gods for mercy, breaking down, claiming that he wasn't in fact a horn eater, that this was just a mistake and he shouldn't be here. Ada's mind was bustling with ways of getting out of that situation. So of course, whenever his mind was busy, his mouth was free to speak as it pleased.
Hi.
He spoke with a voice more akin to that of a fawn, whose antlers are just beginning to sprout than that of a fully grown deer.
Corn eater. Another terminology for not furry.
Yeah, definitely that's what it means.
Come on,
Nice
guys.
place you got here. I like your cushions. These cushions
Yeah, I like your cushions too.
Thank you.
They sure are comfy. What are they made of? They gotta be the comfiest cushions ever. Can I
They
bounce
do
on
look
them?
comfy.
Why did you set that backwards?
More cushion for the...
Please
Yes, Jonas?
don't.
Okay,
Sep
but
says
I'm
it for us.
talking about
Please
your
don't.
cushions, not your cushions, all right? Not
Uh-huh.
bouncing either. Just want to make that crystal clear.
A mocking chuckle stabbed at his heart. Feeling even more self-conscious than he thought he was capable of, he held onto his hooves and fixed his gaze on the ground, screaming inside as his face burned.
So it wasn't the contusion after all, huh? You're just like that.
Like what now?
Funny.
Funny? Me? Not one bit, man. I ain't got a funny bone in my body. Doc and I ain't ever seen worse jokes than at her scenes. Hold up. Didn't that sound like a poem just now?
I thought you said
Darn,
Adder
a
States for a
poem ain't
second
nothing
there.
but a dull song, Mr. Bard always says so. I'd hate to bore a fine lady such as yourself, so I better get...
On the contrary, I'm looking forward to your next bout of unsolicited poetry. Would you define any other parts of me as too much?
Just see.
Clip it,
Stop
Box.
I have no part of this. Clip it, Boxer.
Yosef took her thumb to the outer curve of her left horn, tracing it in a slow, deliberate motion.
I don't see what horns got to do with anything here.
I didn't say anything.
I didn't say you said I said it. But I don't want you thinking I'm scared of, want me to say you're pretty again? Because I could just say that. I mean, you're gorgeous, you see? That's no skin off my back.
So you really meant my beauty.
Ma'am!
It's okay. Leave your secret with me. I won't tell. After all, everyone thinks the same about Joseph in private.
Ader couldn't help thinking that maybe Joseph thought a bit too highly about Joseph if she used Joseph when talking about Joseph. But he made a point not to say that out loud since the situation was already bad enough as it was.
I'll take your word for it, ma'am.
A deep silence filled the tent. Ader cursed his luck and his good manners. He wanted to run away.
I just had this thought. Pronouns on her bio, ja/Seef.
He wanted to run away and hide, fearing that otherwise he'd commit a big mistake. The kind of mistake that would get him called a horn eater for the rest of his life.
Well then, it was sure nice to see you again, but...
Would you like to know your fortune?
Ader turned on his heel, desperate to find out if her offer was indeed true. There was nothing that betrayed a lie in her words nor in her eyes.
Whoa! You're one of those gazelle fortune tellers? For real?
Let's just say they looked rather different back in Aderstown.
Well, slap my head and call me silly. I got you pegged all wrong, man. Darn right, I'd love to hear it. Oh, hold up.
Yeah, that's what you get for trying.
Coins. I ain't got a single dollar on me, so...
Oh, come on, not pegging jokes.
I was about to say that's what you get for he interrupted me. That's what you get for trying to peg her. She's the one who pegs you.
There you go. I was also trying to think of a joke for that.
Something flew into the ground right beside Ader's foot.
My bag?
You dropped it right after you crashed the first time. I meant to give it back, but since you were so bent on running through that wall...
You didn't steal from it, did you?
Steal what? It's just filled with rivets.
Aha! That means you opened it!
So much for wanting to see you again. That was all. You can go now if you want.
A punch to the gut would have hurt Ader infinitely less than her words. What am I doing? He thought to himself, biting the inside of his cheek. No mere thief would have returned his bag, and sad as that was, no other person had ever gone so far for him. So he sat down once more, looking at the finely yet peculiarly dressed woman in front of him with a mix of embarrassment, naivete, and just plain fear.
I don't suppose you accept rivets as payment.
That would depend on what you're paying for.
Getting my fortune told?
Just keep them.
Joseph rested her arms over the crystal orb, leaning closer to Ader.
All right! Can you look into the ball thing and tell me how my ma and pa are doing? Did any of my little bros get married yet?
That's cute, but it's a reading glass, not a magic mirror.
Right. How about the weather? Can you give them good harvests?
Take your prayers to the temple.
Oh, darn, that won't do either. Alrighty then, how about me? What do you see in this buck's future?
Your future? Why would you want to know anything about that? Life would be boring if you knew what waits around every corner. I'll read your past and justify your present.
But I already know those things.
I don't.
Ader was quite set on asking what she meant, but his brain shut down operations completely as the girl oh so casually decided to shuffle closer to him, a little lighter now around the shoulders without the cape weighing her down.
For example, we could talk about why you did what you did for me then, and figure out what I could do to return the favor now.
Her blue eyes spoke like an insinuating whisper. Her fingers walked over the cobblestone ground headed toward Ader's own hands as her face got ever so close.
We have another guest in our midst.
Sure do.
Definitely got the wrong
Why,
one.
hello.
But even if I ever did anything nice for you in my life, a simple thanks is more than enough payment.
Hello, Void.
God, I wish I could dress like Joseph here.
No, Void, maybe you can.
Sadly, you'll have to go with the brown tunic and the saber pointed at every single gazelle who looks at Joseph.
I I guess you could use a reminder too.
The soothsayer made no attempt to conceal her disappointment, much like no one ever made any attempt to explain to her what coming on too strong means. With apparent tedium, she grabbed the crystal orb and put it right between her face and Ader's. This time, she had no more pretensions than merely watching him.
Oh fire, tell me the secrets and the yada yada stuff in Bazaktet. I don't feel like switching languages now.
Her complete lack of professionalism made Ader feel for once at ease. After all, what would he do if he was indeed in front of a Sephi, one of those heinous Baron wizards from far back in time? Cry, beg, try to escape. Wait, those are things he'd already thought of doing. As Ader was considering the subtle differences in the fears he felt when talking to a girl and imagining being burnt to a crisp by a witch, she watched him. And she kept watching. And then she watched some more. The gazelle lifted her head from behind the glass as she squinted her eyes into fine lines. Whatever she was looking for, she couldn't find, but she still ducked behind the orb once more, hoping to reach some kind of conclusion. Focused with such intensity that her eyebrows could have split her forehead in two and she wouldn't have noticed, Jasif pressed her mouse to one side, wiggled her nose, and opened her eyes so wide at him that Ader couldn't help but laugh.
Shush! It's easier with two.
She mumbled the last part to herself, but Ader was sure that she'd said eyes.
Oh, what's that? You ain't never done it with a one-eyed deer before?
Ader pressed his lips together like he wanted to make them disappear. Jasif merely rose an eyebrow. His accidental innuendo made him begin shaking from horns to hooves once more.
Screw this.
She pushed the orb away with an exasperated sigh. Before Ader knew what was going on, his face was in her hands and her face right in front of his.
I need to find out if it was you after all. Stay still.
A drum beat in his ears. That was Ader's heartbeat as she stared at him so intently. There was a lump in his throat. He did his best not to tremble. His eyes began feeling heavy, though he tried to hold her gaze. She was muttering something, words about his past, but her voice became obscured by the noise of the bells, the crackling of the fire, the sound of her own eyelashes batting against each other.
It's really too sodding late to be dealing with pests like you. And yet, here we are, wasting my time and yours.
Hey! What's that supposed to...
Ader's complaint vanished at spear point. Two guards had replaced the gazelle, one old and one incomplacent, and one young, eager, and inches away from stabbing his nose.
Just who do you think you are?
Who do you think I am?
That was Jasif's voice. But as much as he tried to find her, Ader couldn't see her. In fact, he couldn't even move at all.
What? Ugh, I won't fall for your bar and mind tricks, gazelle. I don't care if you're Hayseed or Jasud. Only nobles are allowed to walk the royal pathway. No exceptions!
Ader felt a lump in his throat as he unwillingly looked over the railings that he was leaning against.
I don't suppose you expect me to jump off the bridge.
The younger guard opened his mouth to reply, but his partner cut in line.
Can't you see that you're scaring her, you dimwit? Take a step back!
What? But she's trespassing!
The younger guard got smacked in the head for his efforts.
Settle down, boy! You forgot to clean your ears this morning or what? She said she's Jasif. Jasif! This girl's far more than nobility, see? She's a queen. The queen of the desert rose, no less. Now that's what I call a fancy title.
Dancing Queen.
It won't change the fact I am the one and only Jasif, and you are a dear with good taste. You must have heard my name in 100 whispers. So, just imagine how terribly worried Miss Rochelle will be if her favorite girl doesn't make it home before dawn.
Liar! There's no way the Desert Rose would have someone like you! Your kin shouldn't even be outside after curfew!
My kin? You mean gazelles who could buy your whole street?
So much for the open-minded youth. Forgive this fool, your majesty. He's so uptight I think he sat on his spear. I'm sure you know his kin. A fawn like him wouldn't know royalty if it spat in his face. He's got a point,
it might.
though. Any gazelle could sneak up here and say she's a queen because she's the daughter of a goat with a bald spot on her head. You understand, right? We can't just take your word for it. Nothing personal, of course. It's just common sense.
You'd like that, wouldn't you, Soaker?
Why don't you sway us with a little dance? I'm sure that Jasif would do anything for her subjects.
What are you saying, you numbskull? We're on duty, and she's not even a... Three's sake! We should just drag her to the dungeon and end this nonsense!
Yeah, spare me the lecture, kid. Hey, do one of those bar and dance things. That'll shut him right up. You know, the one with the fire and the bells and the...
The older guard cupped his chest and pretended to dance as he cackled, much to the revulsion of everyone involved.
That's a Ratchet moment.
Ader could feel the tip of his tongue scraping against his teeth, far smaller and more well-aligned than he ever remembered them being. His patience was growing worryingly thin.
I could dance for you, if you don't mind having an early cremation.
Huh? Was that a threat just now?
Not at all. I'm just
There's
pointing
use for
out
that.
that I'm not dressed for the occasion. It would be a pity if your face was to catch fire and your skin burst into flames, turning your bones to charcoal inside your blazing corpse while your ashes moldered up here. Just because I didn't have a fireproof shirt.
Right. Well, it doesn't look like you have any other way to prove your words, Your Majesty.
I suppose I don't, but I bet my good friend Illigrab could find a way to prove them for me.
And walk you all the way across the city on the off chance we find that fidget arse of a tree sitting at his desk? We don't get paid that much, little lady.
A victorious smile crossed Ader's face, an opening at last.
Ah, I understand now. A discount isn't even remotely enough to cover the entrance cost of the Desert Rose on a poor, hard-working guard's salary, And that's not even adding the price of my performances.
The old guard's eyes shot open as he felt a few coins slipping into his hand.
Don't worry. I'm sure there's some places down the street that are better suited to your taste.
He remained transfixed by the money a moment longer until something seemed to click in his head all of a sudden.
Who do you take me for, scamp? We are honor-bound city guards. We won't get buffed by the likes of you.
Ugh, what? Come on. This was more than enough last time. Why isn't it working now?
The guards didn't react to that sentence at all. It was like they hadn't heard her when Joseph's voice sounded loud and clear in Ader's ears. That thought passed as soon as it came. The quick, anxious looks in the old guard was directing at his partner became the new focus of Ader's attention. The moment they locked eyes, the answer he'd been looking for became evident.
Of course. I should have noticed sooner. He's a new recruit, isn't he? Look at him. So eager and uptight. So focused on proving his worth to the captain. So predictable. You couldn't possibly trust someone like him with a bribe. He's too different from your old partner. But you couldn't trust that one either, could you? No, he knew too much. And he wasn't half as jaded as you are. His heart wasn't really in it. Uh-huh, I see. You had a feeling he would end up going after you. So, you sold him out first. That's why he's here.
How did you...
What? So she's telling the truth? You take bribes?
No, well, maybe if it's enough. I mean, come on. It's just a goddamned bridge. What's the matter if we let rich people in at this point? They're no different from nobles. But I swear, I'd never gotten money from this. No, I'd never even seen this. Gazelle?
The guard's face contorted into a deeply wrinkled scowl. He looked beyond confused, lost. The song was reaching its final notes.
Aw, looks like your friend has a bad case of guilty conscience. That's okay. I'm no one to judge. Just let me go this time. I promise I'll be a good girl and head straight home. You won't even know I've been here.
Ader started to walk, a little spring in his step as something he barely recognized as a tail wagging behind him. He felt above the moon, completely drunk from this power trip, but he was far from safe still. A strong hand clasped Ader's wrist tightly. This told him all he needed to know, that his body wasn't his body and this mind wasn't his mind.
But who else could it have been? You are the Jasif, aren't you? You really could buy this whole street if you wanted. It was you! It was you all along! What did you do to me?
I only gave you money.
You gave me cursed money! No! You cast a spell on me!
What in the world are you rambling about now? You sound like a madman!
Yeah, that's right. I have gone mad. It's not my fault. I'm not really a crook. She's a Sephi. She must have charmed me to do all those bad things. We're on to you, witch. Confess!
Every last fiber of her body was screaming at her to run. Jasif knew each and every corner of the royal pathway. She could have just hidden somewhere or outran 2 guards wearing heavy armor. That was the correct option. It was obvious to her. But that was not the choice she made. She pulled close to him and moved a smirk towards his ear instead.
I wouldn't waste any magic on you.
There wasn't any trace of fear in Jasif's mind as a guard grabbed her collar and pushed her against a railing. Not a speckle of resignation. It wasn't bravery either. There was nothing but anticipation. Ader didn't know the name of the eerie warmth that was creeping into her chest as she watched the tip of his spear turn towards him in slow motion. He had never felt anything quite so peaceful and thrilling before. But to her, this lost battle seemed to be worth as much as a victory. After all, she had been playing with fire her whole life. Getting burnt was an eventuality she had been ready to accept for years. She was tired of making choices. Fractions of a second before the end of her life could be sentenced, a scream shook the night.
Get your mitts off her, you creep!
Everyone turned around to look at the idiot, yelling all the way down on the ground.
Think you can just bother her last because she looks good enough for second helpings and then dessert? Well, you can't, all right? That's radish stew, and you'd make your mom cry if they knew. Let her go!
Ader had most certainly gone crazy.
What the? Oh, get lost, Sanford! This is official city business! It's got nothing to do with you!
City business, my ass! You're holding a gal up against the wall! I ain't got nothing to do with it, but it's still got everything to do with me! If it's so official, I'm gonna scream till the whole city wakes up and sees this!
No, you're not! Do something, rookie! Get rid of that drunkard!
What, you want me to throw my spear at some poor horn-eater now?
It was so official.
Just hold up there!
Ader, the pudgy version of Ader, that is, wasn't concerned with matters such as a complete lack of grace, agility, or strength. Moved by his sense of justice, he began climbing the column that led to the royal pathway. Of course, he never made it.
Hey! Are you still alive?
Oh, you lack grace, for you are maidenless.
Oh, poor kid. We can't just leave him to die all on his own. Guess he'll be jumping off the bridge yet, witch.
Puzzling as the scene was, Jasif realized that she didn't have another second to lose.
What is the opposite of maidenless? Maidenful?
Yes.
Haremful.
Be maiden.
Haremful. Be maidened, yes.
With the guard's hand still firmly wrapped around her collar and pushing her back, Jasif threw all her weight on one leg, using her tail as leverage to complete a practice spin that ended with her knee sinking deep between the deer's legs. He immediately dropped to the ground, but it wasn't quite enough to knock him out.
You little...
That's enough. Let's go.
But she kicked me, and she's a witch. She
kicked me in the neck.
I have no clue what this
She's a
is.
witch
She's not.
and a dick kicker.
I'm not leaving you another second with her. Get that old ass back to the barracks, or I'm telling Illigrab what you just did.
She's a dick kicker. She will kick. will get a dick. She will leave you.
And legend says that in these woods, the dick-kicking witch still lurks.
That's why every time I go into the woods, I wear a cup. You never know.
You gonna be all right, Maxie?
Oh my god. Oh no.
Man, those 6:45 a.m. jokes really hit different, don't they?
I'm sorry, I'm stuck in like seagull mode.
Quick, someone get a fry.
I mean, hit her on the back.
Okay.
Lap back.
I'd say I was sorry, but I'm really not.
Okay, I'm fine. I'm good.
It was the older guard's turn to go pale. He lowered his helmet and began limping in the other direction. The younger guard, however, stood in front of her a moment longer.
You! Go home and don't let me catch you up here again.
Jasif only allowed herself to breathe easy once again once both guards had disappeared from sight. Pride filled her lungs faster than air.
Good riddance.
She wasn't quite out of the woods yet, but she decided to savor this victory, a moment of peace, which Jasif took to look over the railings one last time. Her wannabe savior now lay unconscious on the ground after hitting his head during the fall. And in spite of how miserable the scene was, Ader could feel a smile forming on her face. Finally understood that, crazy or not, he was seeing what she was seeing the way she saw it.
Did I scare him good?
Huh? You're awake? How in the name of oblivion can you be conscious after a fall like that? You must be at least 5 stories high. Were we even trying to... No. That doesn't matter now. Are you hurt?
Are you all right, ma'am?
No. No, I'm not hurt. So, yes, that was nothing. I'm fine. Thank you.
And that's all this buck needs to feel fit as a fiddle.
I'm just gonna take a nap here.
No, I'm rather certain that's not
take a nap.
He's gonna live another day. He'll be fine.
Oh, no, ma'am. You're thinking normal, dear. I'm something else entirely.
Drunk is what you must be.
I sure hope not. It'd be a real shame if some barrel fever ruined the memory of your pretty face.
It wouldn't make much of a difference either way.
What was that, ma'am?
Cad! You are a cad! Does this look like a good time to be flirting to you?
A distant yell bounced through the columns, nearly sending Jasif's heart straight out of her chest.
Don't know about flirting, but it sure looks like a good time to get walking.
Then get up and walk! I can't just leave you to your fate now!
No, you ain't. You ain't leaving no one, ma'am. Slum dwellers like me come a door a dozen. I'll just play dead for a while and see if I could spend the night in the morgue.
More patrols were surely drawing closer by the minute, demanding she made a choice pronto.
This doesn't end here, understood? I will make it up to you somehow, so don't you dare die until then. Promise you won't.
I will make it up to you somehow, and that is a threat.
Whoa, wait, hold up. Who am I supposed to look for? I didn't even catch your...
Neither Ader understood why she chose to run then, but she ran. She ran before the pitiful buck lying on the ground could finish voicing his request, pretending she hadn't heard him. But the answer she didn't give to the question he couldn't ask lingered a little longer in the space between old hopes and delusions, a sight that Ader found too engrossing to realize he was being left behind. Now, the gazelle was far out of his reach, and with every step he felt her slipping away from his grasp a little further. He tried to keep up, but his legs wouldn't respond as if it wasn't to her command. He tried to breathe, but he wasn't the master of his own lungs.
That's some advanced BDSM.
His sight went dark and his ears turned deaf, a violent torrent of foreign thoughts clobbering his brain as his mind dissolved back into the nether.
It was a good one.
And as suddenly as he left, he found himself, one-eyed, famished, and back in the tent. Indeed, this had to be him. The same gazelle was still breathing over his snout, blue eyes fixed on him with the intensity of a burning sun. But who cares about having the greatest beauty they've seen in their life all over their body? Not Ader anymore, no. A million questions filled his mind. Was that the real life? Was it just fantasy? Were there any more of his memories slipping through the many cracks in his fogged skull, or had starvation finally started to take a toll upon his very brain? As was usually the case, however, his lips refused to wait for a finished script. They raced past Ader's mind, offering an answer to the only question he had never even asked.
Sep?
This word, so short and unassuming, seemed to awaken something in a girl that Ader was almost too dazed to recognize. He couldn't tell yet why her ears perked up, or why his gaze was immediately drawn to her horns and the beautiful mass of red locks she was desperately pulling behind them. Disconcert washed away all conceit from her expression. It took away all the mesmerizing superiority from her eyes. Yes, she looked honestly and utterly tiny for a moment. Scared.
Where did you hear that?
Where did I... Oh! Ma'am, you're okay! You're gonna think I'm crazy, but I heard you say it just now. But not now. It was a long time ago. I was under Hirup's statue. I mean, you were, but I was you and not me because I was trying to save you, but I fell on my face and those guards laughed at me and, just how the hell did I forget any of this? Why can't I remember?
That must have been really fun to read off.
Anger hit her like a wave as the shock disappeared.
Why didn't you say so? Get away from me!
The fire in the orb began flickering erratically, casting disturbing shadows all over the tent.
Whoa, what's going on? What in the name of Atsa did I do now? Was I supposed to say something? Thank you. That's the magic word?
Do you seriously expect me to believe that you...
Hold on. Sip? It was Sip, wasn't it? Oh crap, I just went and cussed a lady out in Gazelle speak, didn't I?
She looked at him with skepticism, her eyes squinted with barely concealed anger. She was clearly sizing him up.
No. You really don't have a clue of what you just did, do you?
Ma'am, if I ever got a clue in my life, it wasn't today. I'm just glad you're all right and that guard is in the dungeon or dead.
Such a good line.
Her expression relaxed just a little as she considered Ader's words. Our poor boy had more than enough trying to get some air into his lungs.
Then you're telling me that you're a natural gaze reader? Do you even understand what this means?
Do I have to say yes or no to get out of here alive?
Ada was pretty sure that he had made a perfectly legitimate question in regards to his survival, and this was no joking matter. But he was thankful all the same when a small chuckle erased all the tension from the gazelle's face. He didn't feel any less confused about this whole ordeal, however.
Think of it this way. I tried to sneak a glance into your past through a tiny keyhole, while you just barged into mine through a door I didn't bother closing. That's on me, yes. I didn't even consider for a second I'd need to keep my guard up around you. But to casually stumble upon the basics of Cepheid, just like that, innately, it's something unheard of among the Akain.
Yeah?
I guess it's true what they say about yellow deer. You must have Barhan blood.
Ada would have normally disputed the last affirmation. Roe deer took pride in being real deer, no gazelle blood at all. Nope, 100% deer that with those that don't have horns. But this was clearly not the moment nor the company to say that.
In Sirnar, please.
You read my mind.
Say what? I think I'm not the funny one here, Missy.
The gazelle seemed way too amused with this development.
No, it makes so much sense. I was wondering why you spent so much time looking at my face. Hear me out. I'm sure you've always been really
definitely couldn't be anything else.
But not smart enough to actually understand them. You're like some kind of savant hick. That's hilarious.
A wrinkle formed.
God, I love that line.
A wrinkle formed over Ada's snout. That was quite enough.
My name is Adder, not Hick, Miss Sep. Now why'd you go hiding such a cute little name, I wonder?
Her face went back to being a little more than a pretension of grandeur, but she held the fire close to her. She didn't look at all different from a child hugging her blanket, soothed by the rhythm of the bells she wore.
It's just a stupid nickname someone gave me. I hadn't heard it in years. They call me Jasif now.
Jasif. As that disgusting guard well said, that was no average name, and much less for a Baron.
Ain't that something like Queen in Gazelle speak?
Bazaktet. And yes, that's a valid translation. Do you have any qualms about it?
Ader did not have any qualms, per se, nor any remote idea what that word was meant to begin with, but he certainly had opinions on her supposed royalty.
No. That's cool, Yasif. Did I say that right? I mean, if you need people calling you Queen to be happy...
I don't need to be called anything to...
Ader didn't mean anything with that, but he'd somehow managed to say something rude all the same. She didn't finish the sentence, deciding instead to just look away.
Are you all right?
She turned her face sharply towards his. There was something different in the way she was looking at him.
Adder.
Right.
That's me.
He took a hand to his heart and bowed his head as an instinctive greeting, accidentally clashing his horns against hers. He was surprised to find out that, somehow, that was a lot less gross than he thought it'd be. He didn't know how to feel about this appreciation.
Didn't you want to know your future? Then listen closely.
She put her mouth right next to his ear and whispered,
You're coming with me tonight.
Yes, ma'am.
You really are one of a kind.
Blurp.
Mommy,
to the
I'm
desert
sorry,
rose
Mommy.
when the lights
I'm
are
sorry.
on. My room is on the first floor, but
Adder's like,
climbing
what
there
the hoot
should
up
be
now?
easier than climbing the bridge at the very least.
Wait, climb? Room? There you go saying weird stuff again. I'm not a thief, and I'm not a hoarding...
Without previous warning, the fire in the orb extinguished, leaving the room in total darkness. Idar didn't even have time to feel alarmed. He felt her hands on the back of his head, and next he knew her lips were all over his. His mind shut up completely.
See you later.
He couldn't even stop to consider how he felt about that before the kiss was over. With his mind still in a daze, he got up and turned around to leave. For a few moments, he stood frozen outside the tent, merely appreciating the cool dusk breeze on his fur. By the time his thoughts began making any sense, he was already running home at full speed, crying disconsolately about the realization that he was, in fact, a horn-eater.
Adder, you're a furry.
We've hit midnight, by the way.
Yes,
yeah, this is actually kind of fortuitous.
Wonderful lineup.
Let's take a break here. I want to review what you've written so far.
What, you don't trust my writing skills?
No, obviously.
Feels good to be loved.
It really does.
We just got bonked. Boxer just bonked literally all of us simultaneously.
The nerve you have.
Yes.
And he really was except in the end, which explains a few things.
A few.
If Adder and Griffin had an unlikely yet alluring, brief, intense romantic involvement, how would it have been called? Gitter? Adif?
Pandering.
Then I guess what I've got left is this going anywhere at all?
Huh? What do you mean? You've learned a lot about your beloved knight already, haven't you?
Yeah, sure. Don't take me wrong. I like your take on the story so far. I just can't figure out how any of this leads to him becoming a knight, much less the knight.
Patient little Nashnab. All shall be revealed.
Like your major crush on Seth?
What?
You can put all the words you want in Adder's mouth. I know an obsession when I see one.
Go get your eyes checked then.
I'm gonna go back and count how many times you've mentioned her butt.
No, I just... that's it. You're not hearing another word about her.
What? Boo! This is a biased recount. I'm calling Radish Stew on this.
I never claimed to be objective, you tiny insurgent. It's my story, and I'll share it how I see fit.
Unbelievable! You are silencing the very truth you champion! Whatever shall become of Adder's story if you bereave us of the booty?
Yeah, Lynn, you tell him!
Yeah, it's the author yelling at the author.
Nice. There are more characters in this story, you know.
Or were you in love with them too? Okay, I'll change it as yes!
The bonk! The bonk!
Bonk.
You know, looking back on it, there is someone I should have loved more. Honestly, she was a bit rough around the edges, and she wasn't always the easiest kid to be around, but the reward for persevering by her side was the unwavering loyalty of an iron-hearted friend.
Sounds like a nice girl.
Oh no, she was horrible and I hate her.
What?
Chapter 2.
And with that...
What a way to end.
Hooray!
Huzzah.
Hey! If it ain't my lil boss! How you doing, ain't it? And having a mighty fine day?
And that's what the chapters.
Yay!
Nice. I appear to not have my saves anymore.
Oh, did you change your computer?
Yes, technically.
Yeah.
I guess they weren't on the cloud either.
Yeah, because there's in Renpai you're advised to not use cloud saves because they could put anytime you load the code runs in its entirely. So you could edit a Renpai save potentially to make malware. So you're not supposed to use cloud saves.
Okay.
There's a new service for that. Like there's a Renpai cloud of some kind, but I don't know the last thing about programming. So
Okay.
what will I fucking know?
Well, that just means that the poll didn't matter at all.
Congratulations! This is a real experience of American democracy in action. Your vote didn't matter.
I would have sent you a save. I have saves that I send people when they need them.
And Silver Shields, yes, this is Maxie's game.
That's right.
Maxie made this game.
Yeah, Maxi didn't work
with his own 2 feet.
I made it with my feet?
You did.
How did you find out?
With his own 2 feet and draining the entirety of his reserves of mental ability.
I was gonna see. I just looked it up on WikiFeet.
I don't like that.
It's funny because the internet's very scary.
I didn't realize that was an actual thing. Like I thought you were just making it up right now.
Oh, I'm not making it up. That's real.
Oh, brother.
Who are we rating?
I don't know. No, you got anybody? We do Jackie. You want to do Jackie?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Here, I'll drop a link.
Why is this so funny to me?
Are you okay, Stoker?
I don't know.
Wow.
Stoker ever okay?
Oh no.
I don't know. I think he's pretty fine.
Thank you. A few
More
other
than
people
fine.
agree with that too. Ooh, well.
Oh my.
You can't see it, but my eyebrows are really wiggling.
Dude, you want to wiggle eyebrows together?
Come on, man.
I've gotten
Your
really
icon
good at
on
like
screen
rolling.
has very wiggly eyebrows already, Stoker.
You can't do that on Twitch.
Dun, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Eyebrows.
Twitch After Dark. We're wiggling eyebrows.
Oh my!
It's about to look like a DreamWorks animation poster right now.
Okay,
right.
that's all for tonight.
All right.
We will see you next time for
Take
more.
care. Thank you so much, Max and Void, for guesting. We will see you.
Yeah,
again.
seriously.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Oh.